What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Path of Light podcast. I'm Velas Orcel, and today I'm here with Sam Hevesy, and today we're talking about just testimony, sports, balance in sports, not idolizing sports, and just overall just dealing with life in college. And so I want to let Sam introduce himself to you guys and tell him like what we're here for.
Yeah, first of all, bro, I'm super excited to be here and thankful. Huge fan of what you do and the way you share the gospel and just being able to get to meet you has been phenomenal. I am captain of our men's soccer team here and transferred from University of Indianapolis. Love all things footy, and I'm just super excited to share my testimony and where I come from and where I'm going. So
That's so cool. So I guess right away, I guess I'll ask you like, what was it? What was your story that brought you to Christ, and like, what was the foundation, and then like, what was the changing point? Kind of.
yeah, it's awesome. So I would say, firstly, my story starts the way a lot of people's stories start. I was surrounded by incredible foundational pieces in my life. My parents raised me really strong on Jesus' principles and Jesus as a whole, as Christianity. I grew up going to church every weekend and sometimes not staying at friends' house Saturday nights to get church in the morning. So it's an everyday thing. This is the standard. And I have incredible grandparents. Uh, my grandpa on my mom's side's a pastor, and my grandparents on my dad's side are devoted Christians and incredible people. And so I was growing up in a very Christ seeking environment. Obviously, everybody has their stories of like how maybe it wasn't as optimal as it could be, but I was surrounded by incredible principles and stories of Christ. So that was great. And kind of the older that I got, when I had to start making my own decisions on what I think. I mean, starting even like seventh, eighth grade, I started to be like, man, this is something that brings me away from hanging out with my friends on Saturday nights. This is something that makes me like help and work at the church. This is something that I have to memorize verses and like a whole bunch of work that I didn't want to do because it was just a bunch of extra stuff. And I never felt any sort of personal connection or relationship or it felt like religion, and I wanted nothing to do with religion. So it got to the point where you blink and you're in high school and you're smoking and you're drinking and you're trying to find worth and identity in women and relationships. And when soccer's good, things are good. When soccer's bad, things are bad. And my foundation was built on nothing except for pride and ego and jealousy. And you get to a point where you can survive and ghost on that because you don't really know anything different. You think that like happiness is just a set of brief moments of what you think is joy. And I think, when you win a game or you start a relationship with a girl or whatever it is, like you think that's joy. So you kind of start chasing that. I started to chase, okay, how can I get the next play or the next game or the next girl or the next party or the next drink or something like that. And it got to the point where I'm a senior in high school, and it's been my dream. I remember telling my parents, especially my dad, I was like, "You're never gonna have to pay for my college." Especially like seventh, eighth grade, I was like, "Dad, you won't have to pay for my college. I'll go Division 1, and I'll play in the Prem." Like that was always my dream. Like in the backyard, I dream playing the Premier League. Like I cut my grass and water it like it's the Premier League Sunday. And so I had this huge dream, and I would do anything to chase it. And you blink, and you're senior in high school, and you have no offers, and you have offers getting pulled because of me during COVID. And I was gonna go train firsthand with a Division 2 team that was really solid, and I couldn't pass a COVID test because I was sick, so I couldn't go train with the team.
Wow.
And so they're like, "Yeah, we're probably just gonna keep moving on." So that moved on, and so I'm at this spot where now I am a senior in high school, and University of Indianapolis, which is 30, 40 minutes away, is kind of my last ditch effort. And so to this point, I really haven't prayed. I really haven't ever sought any sort of help with God. I mean, there'll be moments where I feel like I need the genie in the bottle, and so I'll chuck up a prayer from the half court line, see what can happen. And that was my approach to God. And so I got to the point where I was down bad enough where my older sister, who I look up to in a billion different ways, has always been extremely firm in her faith. And so uh, for once in my life, I don't know if she'll remember this, but for the first time I went to her and I said, "Ellie, like, I need you to pray for me because this is like one of my last chances to play in college soccer, and I need you to pray for me. Like, I really need this. For the first time, I prayed on it. And I remember going to this ID camp, and I walk in there, and it's this room full of 30 or 40 players. Everybody's quiet, like getting their gear on. Everybody's there to compete to try and get a roster spot. And I remember listening to the song Promises. I put it in my headphones, and it's a song I still listen to today, but it's the first time where I was like, I need God. Like, there's no other way. So it's the first time that I at least attempted, even though my heart posture wasn't there. I don't think my intentionality was giving this area of my life to God,
Yeah.
but my first time I've ever tried to tap into leaning on God for something, and ended up getting offered uh, and signed with them in a few weeks, and off I was on. So I got to college, and you get a different form of ego. Pride is something I've always struggled with. I think all young men struggle with it. I had this pride of, okay, I'm where a lot of my club teammates didn't go. I'm playing college soccer, and I think I'm good enough, and I get there and I'm not. There's 30, 40 players that are better than me, and only 11 players play. And you start to really take a realistic look at yourself for the first time and realize I'm not as good as I thought I was.
Uh-huh.
I'm not all who I thought I was. And then I still had my whole identity in it. And I tried to lean on other things, whether that be relationships. At this point, I really wasn't drinking or partying, but I was trying to. At moments, I was going into spots I knew my coaches would see me working out, or I knew that other players would see me working out, because I needed this validation from other people that I was good enough, and I kept seeking that if the coaches just thought I was good enough, then I'd be good enough to myself. And that was all the effort and attention I put in. And so I put on all this work in and all this work in, to the point where I just kept failing. I feel like I put in more work than I've ever had in my life, and I kept failing and failing and failing. And I got to the point where I was like, what is it all for? What is this? It all just seems like it's in vain. And that was until one of my teammates invited me to Bible study. And at this point, I think it was a combination of I'm low enough to try it, and a little bit of pride still. A little pride of like Bible study. You guys don't know. Like, I grew up Bible studies. You feel me? Like, and I feel like I'm a decent talker. So I was like, man, I can show these people how good I am, how a good person I am, and like drop some Bible knowledge. And I got there, and they started going around of like highs and lows of the week. And I saw these big dudes who are in either better spots or way worse spots than I was. And they were honest about, and they were vulnerable about the position that they were in, and what they were feeling. And also, they were very joyful. It was like a radiance of joy from players who were in a worse spot than me, and didn't really have a older than me and in a worse spot. They were just joyful.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know what that is, but I want to chase that the rest of my life. And so I started easing into Bible study and being around Christ-like teammates and athletes and people on campus. And it was just a slow grind, a lot of mistakes, a lot of 2 steps forward and a step back, and going into sin that I've struggled with, and feeling like I've broken it, and I'm coming back to it. And flash forward, I'm in Christ has changed my life. I think I'm now a senior in college, and I see like life, flashing and blinking before me. And I'm just really starting to learn to lean on Christ in everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it changes my whole perception on how I see the world. And I've never felt true joy like this. And I keep making I make mistakes, and I fall short, but I'm continuing to get closer to him, and in like a true intimate relationship piece I've never really felt. So and now I'm just striving after that every day. So
It's
that's a
so
little bit of
cool.
my story. Yeah.
That's so cool. So something that kind of I was thinking about is like when you first came into, let's say, that Bible study, and like you're talking about how like you get that pride, like, oh, I used to go and learn the Bible and stuff like
Mhm.
that. Did you feel like it was almost like the guys were almost like weird when they, or like, cause I know sometimes there's a perspective like, oh, I don't follow Christ. People who do follow Christ, they're kind of weird. Like, they're kind of like, why are they so all in? Was it like that for you kind of when you first came in at all, or not really?
1,000%.
Okay.
And I think it was the first thing was that Christianity in me was religion, and it was something that I could show and impress people with. Like, as a kid, I'd love to like say something really profound to my grandparents, to make them see me as this like young Christian seeking man, and I could always articulate words in a way that I thought was better than the average person. And so I could always manipulate Christianity and Jesus in a way that benefits me, in a way that I could get other people to see me and certain groups to see me in this way. And so that was part of it. It was just another chance for me to like manipulate and like uh, show a prideful side of me. I'm like, yeah, I know the Bible. Like you guys might think you know a Bible, but I could run this thing. That's genuinely like a prideful thought. It's like Bible study. I could probably run the Bible study right now. After not like seeking. And so that's just like the pride that's inherently in my heart. And I think what was so weird to me at the time was that you see a bunch of guys who are competing against each other to play over each other to achieve their dreams, and they're being openly vulnerable to who they truly are and the mistakes they're struggling with. And that's something that we don't grow up as young men, is like you never point out faults in yourself, and you never show weakness. Like you never show weakness to other people what you're struggling with. Like if you're gonna be the top dog, like you're not gonna be like, hey, I'm struggling with this, or like I'm not good enough. It's like I'm the best and I'm going to be the best. I'm gonna do whatever it takes to be the best. And so I've always had that mentality. And you look up to guys like Tom Brady and Michael Jordan, guys who are willing to sacrifice anything to be great. And so I found that mindset more attractive than a Christ-seeking mindset at the time, because it wasn't as cool. It wasn't as like in the gym at 3 or 4 a.m. getting up shots if I played basketball.
No, I know you're saying.
But like it wasn't as attractive as like going dark and like not talking to your friends and family and grinding, and like stepping over a teammate to get to where you want. And so seeing those dudes just like have this radiant joy that they're content, because in other words, content, it's not happy. I think it's a contentment of where they're at because their trust and belief in God, and contentment, like what Paul says, like whether having much or little, like I've learned to be content. I've seen that bit of contentment. It was weird to me because I felt contentment as like failure. Like you're okay to be a failure.
Whoa, see, that's crazy. Yeah, people definitely think that.
Yeah, and like you're content with being, because I was number 53. And I got guys, you're content being in the 50s numbers. Like you're content where you're at. You're content not even training with the first team. Like this is who you are. And like this is what Christianity is just like a mushy, like, well, I guess we didn't win today, guys. Like maybe next year. Like that was always like unattractive to me because I didn't understand it. I didn't understand what true contentment in Christ really meant.
Oh, that's crazy. So we talked about how like little about vulnerability, and like we've talked before about it, but like definitely like with everyone being on their phone so much and like just like being able to hide and not talk as much to people, like vulnerability has gone away, and it's like when it happens, it's so valuable now. And like the question I have is like, was there anything that you said when they were in there, like when you guys when you had that first like contact with it, were you still like kind of away from it, not open yet?
Yeah.
And then also like, would you say like that definitely changed your perspective on vulnerability?
Yeah, it definitely took a lot of time. Like anybody who's discouraged about like not really being able to be vulnerable or wanting to be vulnerable and it's not, it took me a few times, because I think when you are a prideful human being, like we all are, and something that was one of my biggest struggles, it doesn't go away in the snap of your fingers or one meeting. Like the pride is always at the deep root of like your decision making and your thought process. And so I think it took me a few times to just like shut up and listen, actually, because when somebody would speak, I couldn't wait to share my piece and like explain how much I knew. And I think that was one of the things, was like I can't, I think when I used to go to a Bible study, my thought process, I can't wait to show you guys how much I know.
Uh-huh.
And I can't wait to show you how good I am, and like how devoted I am. I can't wait to show you, because it's just that prideful heart in me. And so I think it actually was almost the opposite. Like I learned to like shut up
Yeah.
and listen, because I was not listening to what they had to say. I was like waiting to speak. I think there's like a big difference between like truly listening and just waiting to speak. And
That's actually so true.
yeah.
And I feel like I like when I was first like learning to like follow Jesus, I read my Bible because I was so into it, and like I was always so like, oh I know this, oh I know this, like I want to speak, like just get done talking so I can talk now, and like I think that's super like relatable. I feel like what you're
Yeah,
saying.
100%. And I think once you're in it, I am more impressed by guys who I know are really knowledgeable, and they don't say much, and they wait for the right time to speak. I think that's something that was different for me, as I was ready. I wasn't vulnerable yet, and I think vulnerability was different for me, where vulnerability is like shutting up and understanding that, okay, I need to listen, and there is room for me to grow. Because I
Mhm.
think part of me is wanting to speak is that, like, I actually don't need to grow. I need to say something so you guys can grow.
See, that's a
You
great.
know what I'm
Yeah, that's
saying?
crazy.
And so I think the vulnerability came as my pride started to get broken down,
Mhm.
and humility started to take root. And so it took a minute. It took a minute, but now I think I love being able to sit down with somebody and show them kind of like what Christ can do and make you vulnerable. And like, yeah. So
Yeah, and like what you're talking about is that definitely the Bible really talks about like slow to speak, quick to listen,
yeah.
and I think that's like so important because like the second you like read so much or you like feel like you know everything, that's when like that's when like the enemy is attacking you so
Mm.
much because like you're so full of pride that you're not even willing to like ask God for more wisdom because obviously you don't have it all, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that's like a scary thing as a Christian when you hit that point. 'Cause you gotta make sure that you don't stick there, you know.
100%. It's
'Cause-
even like another Bible verse is like, those who are humbled will be exalted, and those who are exalted will be humbled. In the sense of like, I was so quickly trying to exalt myself over these people, like, and that's honestly what a lot of sports is like, you're trying to get yourself to the next level, and you're always trying to exalt yourself, which makes sports really difficult to pursue Christ in. And I was just constantly humbled, and I think that's why everything was difficult, was I kept trying to exalt myself. I kept trying to put myself in a situation for coaches to see me working hard than everybody else, and to speak in a certain way in Bible study to exalt myself for these people, when I should have just been like, the humility piece was so much more beneficial.
yeah,
Yeah.
it'd be cool if I share with you my story and like
Please
why.
do.
All
I'm
right.
so excited.
All right, so similar to you, I grew up going to a Christian church, and I think that was just like something that my parents did like greatly. Probably went for a good 4 years, probably went, and then as I got into like middle school, I'd say middle school and like upper elementary school, we kind of stopped going just because I was always a pain. My sister was always a pain. We were always like, no, it's boring. I don't want to go. But when I was little, my mom, I'd always like be like, Mom, like this is why I'm in today. And I think that was like so important in my foundation. But not only that, but like as I grew up, a ton of this unfortunate like things like cancer
Mm.
that were going on, and it's like, and I feel like through that, I I kind of just like didn't want to be seen as someone who needed to be sorry for, because I was like, I mean, like I feel like as a little kid, like I just want to play sports. I just want to be the best at sports I could be, and like I don't want any attention outside of sports. Like, I just want to be like the sports guy, you know, and just be like go. Like, oh, I run everything. Like I want to play pro basketball, pro baseball, pro football. Like I was like anything, I'm gonna play pro, you know. And so I was like, I did not want anyone feeling sorry for me. Only people saying like that guy's so good at sport, you know. And so, but growing up like that, it also caused me to have zero vulnerability. Like I would not share anything. Like I would keep everything to myself. Like anything going on in my family that happened, anything that was going on, like just like mentally that I didn't like, I would never say a word about it because I didn't want anyone feeling sorry for me. I didn't want anyone to know. I didn't want anybody in my family or anybody possibly to be seen from a different perspective that they weren't already seen as, you know. And so I really kept quiet and kept to myself. And but because of that, I wouldn't talk to anybody about any of my issues, and it kind of made me like just talk to God about my issues or whatever was going on. I'd be like, God, like please do this. God, please help. Please, and it was always stuff. Please God help, or please God do this. You know, it wasn't really like a relationship. It was more of like just a one-way exchange that I was doing, just in hopes that He would fix things because like I always believed that Jesus was God, and I believed that God was like the creator and everything. So that's just what I was like born with. It wasn't like I actually learned it. I was just, you know, some of those things you're just told, like Santa.
Mhm.
Um, but and so like I guess growing up, like it it kind of built the foundation for me. And so I had that foundation and I was able to lean on it through all that stuff. But then it wasn't till like, I mean, I was growing up, I still was like completely living in sin. Like I was not, I mean, I would like occasionally I'd read my Bible and I tried doing this thing where I could read the whole Bible. I think that's kind of a perspective some people have is like, oh, I'm gonna read the whole Bible. And I'd go in Genesis and I'd literally be reading the same 5 verses and I'd restart every time. Cause like, I'd be like, what does that even mean? And I'd be like, oh, a week later, like, oh, I want to read the whole Bible. And I read like 5 verses and I'm like, all right. And so like that was like a loop I was in. And And like it wasn't until like a certain time period when I got all the way to about, I'd say my JV year, my JV year of high school for basketball. Um, like all this stuff was still going on, like cancer. My mom had cancer, my grandpa, and uh, and that was all at the time. And and literally like we were, I was putting all my time into basketball. Like, I was putting all my time. Like I was 100% idolizing the sport. Like it was like just my way of just like not caring. I could just go shoot and like everything's gonna be fine. Like I'm gonna grow up. I'm gonna play in the NBA. Like it's gonna be fine. Like literally, it's all gonna work out. And I'd still be praying every night, like God. Like I actually did pray most nights because I always wanted to ask for things. Like I wouldn't forget to ask for what I wanted, but I could care less about actually loving Jesus or loving God. I just knew what I wanted. So that was my relationship. It was like a one-way exchange, and and it wasn't really a relationship. And like that slowly, that actually even transitioned as like the years went on into so JV year, putting all this time into basketball and training so much, and I was seeing like zero results. Like I barely made the JV team, and like my coach told me that like yo, like you're the 15th man, and I'm just like oh okay, so glad to be here. Like I'm happy because I was like nervous how to make it, and then like I just barely made the team, and it's like I was just like, I don't know what to do. Like, I'm putting a lot of work in. I'm doing everything I can do. Like, I would go, I would go train before school, and then after, I would go train like and train at another gym, and then like occasionally I don't know if I lift, but regardless, like nothing was happening, and so I started like asking God. Like, I started like I was like, I'd see videos on my phone, and it'd be uh, like oh like you can only get through it with God, you can only do this with God, and then like late at night I'd see videos of like Cliff saying like talking about like lukewarm faith and talking about like how intellectual he was,
Mm.
and I always thought that was cool, but I didn't like I was like oh that's really cool like how like you can be so dedicated and so smart in the faith, but I was like oh that's kind of for pastors though, that's for people who are like super Jesus, and I still love Jesus at the time, like I would still wear like a what would Jesus do bracelet because I did believe in God, but I was so with this basketball, I was putting all this work in, no results, and so I started. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna do something different. I'm gonna try to do something like I don't know what's gonna work. I really want to play pro. Like it's all I ever think about. And like or not play pro, but play in college. Just get to the next level. Like make varsity even was my goal at the time. And so I was like, all right, I'm gonna start listening to only Christian music. And it's like it was kind of like a random thing thrown out there because I saw on TikTok it was like getting closer to God, stop listening to like secular music. I was like, all right, whatever. So I threw on this channel called Kalo, and it's all I'd listen to was Kalo. And doing that, like just a little bit of obedience, I was literally starting to see changes, and it was crazy. I was like, wait, is this like actually from God, or am I just like, is the work just finally showing?
Mm.
And I was like, well, either way, I'm gonna keep doing it. So I would, uh, I would kind of start listening to Caleb, and then like things would get good, I turn it off, and that's the same way I was in my relationship at home too. Like I would pray to God, help. There's stuff going on at home. I just I can't do it. I can't deal with it. Like I need you to help me. Something would change and it get better. I wouldn't say a word to God. Like I would just go. I would just shut the door, not talk to him. Yeah, I'm all good now. Thanks, dude. Um, and then obviously come back and I go right back to God and maybe ask him for more. So same with basketball here, and literally this was a continuation of like really my relationship with Jesus for the longest time. Like I thought when I sin and like when I mess up, I don't talk to God. I'm sinning and now I'm gonna deserve punishment. I thought it was like I talk to God, I'm gonna be good. I don't talk to God, I'm sinning, and I'm gonna deserve a punishment. So like literally, like my exact mentality was that night. Let's say there was a lustful thought, or like there was a, or I told a lie, or I gossiped, or I said something mean behind my friend's back, or I stopped talking to somebody, or I was just mean to somebody for no reason. I thought, oh my gosh, like sometime soon something bad's gonna happen.
Mm.
Like I'm like I already know punishment's coming. Like it's like God, I wish you didn't have to do it, but like I know it's what I deserve, and that's what I thought. And I was like, that was literally my relationship. It was just a sin, punishment. Ask God for stuff, and that was it. And but like I never would get mad at God when stuff would go bad because like I had people in my life who I'd seen get mad at God, and I just knew it wasn't right because this from that little foundation I had, I just knew like that's not like how it's supposed to be. I can't get mad at God because like I know like I always knew like I always heard he had a plan, so I was like, well, it's probably part of the plan. And so that was kind of my way of coping with whatever was happening. And it wasn't until about my junior year, my junior year, I I was starting to see more podcasts like Bryce Crawford's, and I'd see more videos of Cliff Connectley, and I'd watch the videos, and it kind of like inspired me. And I always see these lukewarm things, and it kind of scared me, like realizing that like, yo, just saying you believe in Jesus doesn't mean you're going to heaven. Like if that's what brings you to heaven, then the demons should be in heaven, you know. And so that scared me, and I was like, okay, well, I want to like kind of start to try to learn more about him, you know, like actually get a little more serious. So I started going. So we had this thing called free mods in our school. I went to De La Salle, a Catholic school, and and we'd have like an hour where we had no class, like we class, and I have an hour where I had class. So I had two of them, and during those hours, I started just going to the chapel, into the chapel, and I would just like pull my Bible and I'd just read a book of the Bible. Like I'd read like Philippians or I'd read like James or like Matthew, something like that, and I would read it until I fell asleep, and so I would just be sitting in there, and so that was kind of like my just starting to gain a little more knowledge on it because I started to get interested because literally because of videos I was seeing online, and and so going from there, like I kind of want a relationship, but it was like I don't know how to have a relationship with Jesus. Like I'm gonna read my Bible, I'm gonna pray, and I'm gonna just be kind to people because like that's just the layout that everyone knows. You know, like that's like what I guess you could say like being a follower of Jesus seems like it is. And so I was like, all right, I'm just gonna try what I can try. And then it wasn't until there was this like retreat, and this was this was about beginning of 2025, so beginning of this year. There was this retreat that they have in my high school. Had in my high school, and I went to it, and like going into it, I was like, yeah, I'm spending time in the Word. Like I feel like I'm getting closer to God, but like I still didn't have a real relationship. It was still struggling in sin. Still wasn't anywhere near obedience. I mean, I didn't even know what obedience probably meant at the time. Um, and so I was in this retreat, and again, like I said, like I've never said anything about anything in my struggles, and I was finally able just to come fully clean, and that was literally because I was in a community of Christians who believed in Jesus, and like I never really understood what like a community of Christians was, so I was kind of shocked when I felt so comfortable and I was able to talk about some stuff that I never talked about before, and but then literally like there's this one event they have, and I can't share it because it's part of the Cairo's rules. So you can't
Mhm.
share what goes on. And but this one time I'm in my room, and there's this thing they do, and literally I'm like sitting here bawling my eyes out. Like I was just
Mhm.
bawling my eyes out. Like because I was experiencing something I've never felt before. And what it was just I can't explain like the situation completely, but I was just so like full of like joy and like love that I've never felt before. Never felt from winning a basketball game. Never felt from hitting a game winner. Never felt from being like told by a bunch of people that they care about me. Like it was a different level of love. It was like a level of love that I've never felt before. And it like from that moment on, it like clicked in my head like this is what I want. This is what I want to chase. And so this was like my kind of beginning to a real relationship with Christ. And I realized that in that moment that Jesus actually like loves me even though I do so much dumb stuff.
Mhm.
Even though I've done so many sins. And this was kind of me realizing that all the works that I do, all the times I said I'm not gonna sin anymore, all that my actions are really dirty rags to God when it comes to his love. Like his love doesn't change no matter how much I sin. He still loves me that much, the much that I felt on that night. And so I was like, wait, well, like if this guy loves me this much, then like why am I not like in a relationship with him? Why is this not mutual? Like why don't I feel the same way?
Mhm.
And so after this happened, I was just like so on fire for Christ. I was like, this guy loves me so much. Like I didn't realize what it meant when he died on the cross for my sins. I didn't realize that he actually loves me. I thought it was just an exchange. People often talk about how you're in the courtroom, God's the judge and Jesus is your lawyer, and he gets you out and you're free to go. And it's like, all right, I'll see you, Jesus. I'm free to go. And that's a good example, but it doesn't show the love. And the love is what I felt, and that love is what changed it for me. Because like it was unconditional, and like I know I get unconditional love from like my parents, but it was love of it was like just completely different. Like it was so like on a spiritual level of love, and so after the retreat, like I said, I was on fire for Christ. Like I went home and I was like reading my Bible nonstop. I was like, nothing's more important than this. Like it was all I was talking about to my girlfriend, all I was talking about to my parents, like all I was talking about to everyone was just like Jesus, like, yeah, but did you know, like I was like, it was actually probably like a little annoying to people
Mhm.
because like it was like, such a sudden change, and definitely like so great for my girlfriend that like she was like cool with it, and she wasn't like yo, what's going on, you know? I mean, because it's not like I was like super like sinful before, but like it was like it definitely crazy changes. I was like I want to be like the purest I could be, like when it comes to anything I was saying, anything like I was doing, you know what I'm saying? And so that was lasting for about 2 weeks. Two
Mm.
weeks of me being on fire for Christ, my Bible nonstop, and then I fell back into sin, and then I started struggling with it again. And I kind of like I was like, well, why can't I feel this love anymore? Like, where'd it go? Like, Jesus, why aren't you filling me with this love? Like, I'll pray to you, and like, God, I'm not feeling your presence like I felt after that happened. And so I was in this sin struggle, but I was like, all right, I still want to like get back to that 'cause I knew what I wanted now. Now I knew what I was striving for. It wasn't that thing where I was like, oh, I don't know what I want. Like I just know that I'm supposed to be a Christian and be like a good Christian. And I was like, okay, no, this is what I'm striving for. This is what I want. This is how I want to worship. This is how I want to live. And I just didn't know how to get back to it. Like I would go back in the chapel like I was before, and I would read the Bible and I'd pray. But I was like, I just don't know how to get back into it. I don't know how to get back to that point. And it literally it was stayed this way until one day I went to church, and we at this time I actually was bringing my family. We were all going to church together because like after that change, I wanted to worship Christ. I was doing everything I could to come back into that relationship, and after church, I happened to run into one of my friends who I haven't seen in years since elementary school. Like I haven't talked to him, and or middle school, I haven't talked to him, so it's been like a good amount of years. And I run into him, and he's like super joyful, like insanely, like out of like, it didn't make sense to me. I was like, it was almost like he was a literal living example of like Jesus's joy and the happiness I felt in that night. And I was like, wait, what's going on? So, and then on top of that, he starts talking about Jesus and how like he's been sharing the gospel with people. And I was like, whoa, what the heck is going on? Like this is crazy. Like I knew this guy before. Like yeah, he was a nice guy and he was happy, but like this is a different level of joy. Like this is different than just a normal human. Oh, it's a good day. I'm happy. It was like an internal joy, and it like even like it wasn't just internal. Like it like came out of him too. Like it was like just so much joy and so much like peace. I think that he like you know what I'm talking about when you're in the
Mhm.
presence of someone who's just a peaceful person
Mhm.
and like you feel calm with them. It was like that, and I was like, whoa, like he's talking about Jesus now. He's sharing the gospel and I was following God. And I was like, that's what I'm missing. Like that's where I want to be. And so seeing him, I was like wow, God, like I think this is like the way that you want me to live. And so after that day, I was like, all right, I want to live like him. I want to be like him to other people. I want to be an example of Jesus where people see me and they're like, oh, that's what Jesus offers. I want to follow Christ.
Mhm.
And so that's what I started trying to live like. And but the question was for me is like, how do I get there? Like I always struggled with that was how do I get there? But now I've seen it and I feel like I understand it more. Talking to him and I after that I reached out to him and I was asking him questions and stuff. But like I was so confused on how to get back in that relationship. And so after seeing this, like I was on fire for Christ. Like I was like, all right, I need to share the gospel. Like I feel like I've spent my season where like I was really just trying to learn more and learn more and learn more. And not that I knew a ton, because I obviously need to learn more a lot then. I still do now. But I feel like I was like, all right, I really want to share the gospel. I really want to help people out with what I struggled with. Like I really want to teach people how do I get from that lukewarm faith to the real faith.
Mhm.
And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna do something. Like I want to share the gospel somehow. And when I was little, I literally always wanted to be a YouTuber. Like I would post I would post vlogs. Literally when I was in 5th grade, where we'd go into houses that weren't built yet, like not fully completed in my sub, and I'd record and be like, yo, there's someone coming after us. We're getting out of here. Or I'd go to my friend's house. I'd be like, we're playing hide and seek in a $1 million mansion. Welcome back, guys, with our video. Like, I literally wanted to be a YouTuber so bad. So, like, I think that desire obviously was given from God. Like, not just to be a YouTuber and just make funny videos, but to share and, like, create content. Like, I feel like always have loved doing it. Even when I was little, like, there was this thing called Musical.ly on TikTok. And, like, I literally would, like, make Musical.lys every day.
Mm.
like, and and so I felt like, all right, like I'm gonna go back to the chapel at school, and I'm just gonna pray about it. And so I sat there and I just prayed about it, and I kept thinking, and like I was like, I really want to make something where I can teach people, and I was like, well, online, because I would always think like, well, online is obviously the fastest way to share to people, and I was like, all right, I want to make a podcast, like I want to make a podcast, I want to be able to share what I struggled with and what I learned because of like Christ and what He's given me, and so that's what caused me to want to make videos, is because I wanted to take people like I want to help people like get through what with the shoes that I was in, and like I guess that's kind of what motivated me to be like this is so important to know because like it changed my perspective so much. Like I feel like I had so much like I had a crazy amount of issues when it comes to sports, issues with like confidence and having like performance anxiety. Like oh my gosh, I would. So when I was little, I'd be sitting in the car with my mom before football practice, just practice, not even games, and I'd like be ready to throw up. I was so nervous. I was like, oh, I gotta play well. I gotta do well today. Like I gotta. We do conditioning, and I'd be like, I have to win conditioning. Like if I don't, like I'm not gonna start. Like I'm never gonna be good. And like I had this crazy amount of just like where I was always worried, and that lasted all the way up, not just like when I was little playing football. And and like a verse that kind of I feel like really helped me was Philippians chapter 3 verse like 6 and 7. It was do not be anxious about anything, but in everything with by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving let your request be known to God, and by the peace of God which surpasses all understanding may your heart and your mind be guarded by Jesus Christ.
Mm.
And like learning that, it like as Solomon says, like to keep my commandments and store them up and to keep them like a tablet on your heart. That was like a big change for me when I started following Christ. Was seriously like making it like a actual lifestyle, not just like a thing you do on the side. Like when
Mm.
I'm in bed at home, or like when I'm at home, yeah, I'll follow Jesus. When I'm not busy, I'll follow Jesus. But it's actually throughout the whole day. And so I feel like that's like what completely like brought me the peace and joy that I can have. And yeah, like I still struggle today. I'll still have times when I'm worrying. But then like being able to have something that I can rely on, like I'll be worrying and I'll be like, wait, like why am I worrying? Like there's no reason to. And then I'll think about the scripture and like it goes away. It actually goes away. And it's like something that like it's made me just want to share the gospel because like there was a time when I had so much doubt, and I was like, okay, well, I know about Jesus, but now I have doubt. Now I'm like, well, what if I'm doing all this and it's for nothing, and that it's not true, and I'm actually misleading people? So that was a time when I really feel like I dove into understanding like where the scripture came from. Uh, is the Bible credible? And I feel like I learned that stuff, and that's what made me like. I was like, all right, I know it's true. I think I have enough information, and I can be guided by the Holy Spirit to share, and I'm gonna share. And
Mm.
so I started making the videos, started posting everywhere, and I was like, I'm gonna be a fool for Jesus. It's more
Yeah.
important than my ego. It's more important than my self image. It's more important than how cool I can look or be. But I just want to like do what I can to just guide people out of where I was. So that's really what made me just like want to just go all in and start sharing. So
Dude, that's an amazing story. And there's two things I'm really curious about. The first one is, like you said, you grew up in more of a broken family with a lot
mm,
of difficulty with cancer and other things that we've talked about. Um, and so, what I've learned as a Christian is you learn a lot about God's character and suffering in difficult times. So, what have you learned about the character of God and what it means to follow Jesus amidst being in a broken family?
yeah, it was definitely so much about like how in our struggle and our weakness, that's when God in His Jesus Christ is the strongest.
Mm.
And it's like Jesus loves our most dirty, our most sinful, or like that sinful version of us who doesn't follow Him, could care less, wants to live our own life, follows our own will. He loves that person, that version of you, as much as He loves the version of you that's obedient, praying to Him every day in your Bible all day, sharing the gospel. And that to me was like in the midst of suffering, I was like, I mean, and like in my perspective, I didn't even see this suffering at the time because like it was just my life. That's just normal. Like I was chilling, but just like understanding that like well, obviously I wasn't chilling, but you know what I'm saying. Like I was
Mm.
like being able to just like lean on God and like learn through the suffering that like that that's really where I was dependent on God too.
Mm.
That's definitely what builds relationships. Is like you don't realize that like if there was no suffering, then I wouldn't even follow Jesus probably. If there was no bad, then I mean, why would I cling to a God? Because like if we weren't a broken world, realistically, like then we wouldn't sin,
Yeah.
and then there wouldn't be a relationship with God. And so because we are in a broken world, because there is sin, there's always gonna be hardship. And with the hardship, like you need someone to depend on and to love and to have someone like to know that it's going to be okay, or
Mm.
else you're gonna deal with the anxiety and depression.
Mhm.
That's why it's like when sharing the gospel, it's like I'm not doing it for for me, for my looks. I'm doing it because like I know that without Jesus, there is anxiety and depression. Because like there's no way to just know everything's gonna go well. There's no way that there's no external like it's gonna be okay. There's no hope. So that's why and along with that there's the joy and the satisfaction it brings. So it's like when I'm sharing Jesus, I'm not trying to share it so that I can just like look good. It's just like that I know that someone's struggling. So everyone's broken.
Mm.
And that's something I definitely learned through suffering too, is that everyone's dealing with something.
Yeah.
It's much worse than whatever I was dealing with, or it's not as bad as what I was dealing with. But regardless, like someone has some struggle that infects them a lot,
Mhm.
and like through suffering, it's like I think we learn that we need someone to depend on because we can't do it on your own. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a great point. I also love like kind of building off what you were saying was we do serve a suffering God, like a God that was willing to let go of ultimate control and become a human being and suffer the sins of the world. And like we both know what it feels like to feel guilt and shame for sin. And he took the world of that and suffered more than we'll probably ever suffer as a human being. And so to have and to serve a God that has suffered, I think changes perspective on Jesus for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so then another thing I was really curious about in your testimony is there was a time in your life where everything was basketball.
Yeah.
You're willing to give everything. And now you've made it to the college level of basketball. And what I've experienced is from the high school jump to the college jump, it was even more difficult for me not to make the sport my idol because it was like a full-time job now. It's everything. And so my question is now that you have found Christ and that you're rooted in Christ and your foundation is in Christ, what does the day-to-day look like in not making basketball your idol?
Yeah, I think it's definitely just like it's honestly like putting that perspective, like because like I still will have that kind of like that performance anxiety will still hit me. But like by scripture, I'm able to just like think of that literally that verse that I have memorized and it calms me.
Mm,
And so I guess like just remembering that like I really like the example of like the grain of sand and the whole beach.
mm,
Just knowing that this life is like I guess gratitude. I guess gratitude really helps me not make it like an idol because like when I'm grateful, like I'm so grateful that like I have this life to prepare and show and like build a relationship with Jesus so that when I'm in heaven, like I have a relationship with Jesus, like that's eternity.
yeah.
So I feel like not making my idol, just remembering that like this is literally like temporary.
Mm,
Like it's so temporary compared to eternity.
yeah.
And like just knowing that like, yeah, I gotta put the work in. Like you still have to put time into it. But like learning that I can a topic I want to talk about too is I can glorify God through the sport. But that's like hard to say. It's hard, it's really bold.
Yeah.
And but the way I think
What do you
that
think that looks like?
I think it's like what you do on the court, as in like obviously perform well, but then it's like I feel like it's mainly what you do off the court
Mm,
because like that's when people are looking at you. That's when like it's important because like you see like an NBA player like on the court. Yeah, I mean you can do many things. You can wear like you can wear like Tim Tebow. You can like write Bible verses on your face. You can like obviously not for basketball, but football. Basketball you can after the game and interview you can say like uh, I'm so grateful I can play because of like Jesus what he did for me. Or like I just think that like outside when people are like really influenced by you, it's like so important that like you're actually living for Christ. And you're not just saying it because like it's a popularity thing and
mm,
and it's just a filler word because you don't want to talk about religion. It's like, oh, I'm Christian, like I don't want to talk about it. And I think that's definitely by what you do. Like if you're like and like sometimes even more crazy is like there's testimonies of people who like quit basketball in college or they quit in the NBA because they wanted to like be all out for Jesus.
mm,
And
mm.
that's like just like amazing, I think. It's like 'cause it's such a hard thing to understand like what you're calling it sometimes and just like just going all in and being obedient and being like, you know what, God, like this is taking me away from you. Like, because I feel like there's definitely a balance you can find. You can find where like I'm not idolizing the sport. Like something that I like to do actually is I like to listen to like, gospel music while I get shots up.
Mm.
And I feel like I'm able just to praise him while I'm getting work in. But it's more about just me getting the work in and getting through it. It's like while I'm worshiping.
Yeah.
Um, but bringing glory to God through sport is definitely it's a hard thing, and I think there's many ways to do it. I mean, regardless whether or not in the NBA too, like even if you're someone who like let's say like me who doesn't have like a ton of like crazy fans watching like Duke or something, and I think just like by representing Jesus when you're outside
Mm.
and not being ashamed of it when you're your team either. I feel like that's something that's hard is your teammates. You obviously want to be respected and them to approve you, but like if you're like dropping your faith, even for your friends or anyone, if like you're dropping your faith so that you can be a people pleaser and like worry about like let's say your best friend you've had for a long time and you weren't a Christian, but now you are, and like your friendship started when you weren't a Christian, like being scared to just, like start actually following Christ in front of them, that's what's like super dangerous. Because like it's like said that like things you worry about, things that you think about the most are things you worship
Mm.
and things that give you instruction and impact you. And so like that really was a big thing. Like I worry about basketball too much, and that's showing me that I'm literally worshiping it. Like I need to stop worrying about it. Like if I'm worried about anything, I need to worry about how am I loving people, how am I sharing the gospel, how am I being obedient to God.
Mm. Yeah, I think that's awesome. Especially like what I found in my sport is that I'm learning for it to become just an area of worship in my life, in the sense of, and that sounds very Christian, like artsy fartsy, but like I think I enjoy having pressure and the excitement of a game, and that used to bring me away from Christ and making me only focus on myself. But being able to bring that to Jesus and be able to enjoy like growing and depending on Him, I think is where the sport has been such a blessing for me too. And I think that like a lot of playing a sport at a high level can just be another way to worship and share Christ. And I think when we look at the sport from that perspective, rather than a way to exalt myself and fill myself with more pride and accomplish accolades, then you'll find yourself being a lot more joyful when you play and being able to make a huge impact. So I think that's a wonderful point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, honestly, the question I have too is like I was thinking about for you is like so when it comes to um like idolizing soccer, like what do you say was like a way that you kind of not idolize like but you like keep yourself from worrying, I guess because I
Mm,
feel like I kind of like I told you like I try to use scripture, but like so then you do like that kind of like keep you from like worrying so much about like how you perform, or
mm.
is there anything you struggle with like that?
Oh, a billion percent. So similar to you, I remember being in the sixth grade basketball B team. So it was huge, by the way. I made the team. It was unbelievable. I got cut. Okay, think about this. Sixth grade. I got cut. I was the last person cut for the sixth grade B team. I've never felt. It was like my pain. It was the biggest pain I ever felt. I mean, that's not true, but it was close. Especially as sixth grade self, it was like terrible. I came home crying. Didn't want to leave my room. I was just like biggest sense of failure I've ever felt as a sixth grader at that time. And I was in music class the next day and knock on the door. And it's a basketball coach coming in our music class. I made the team
What?
because some other kid chose to do cross country.
Whoa.
So, anyways, that's my rise to fame in basketball. After that, that was it.
Uh-huh.
I hung up the boots for that. But I remember in sixth grade, like you said, like going into the bathroom before a game and like wanting to throw up and like barely being able to go out there and so afraid to mess up.
Yeah.
And I used to be terrible. I bet there's 100 videos on my dad's phone, maybe not, of me missing layups in rec basketball. I would steal the ball, and I was pretty quick, so I'd steal the ball and run away up to the court, and I'd get ready to lay it up. And there's just fear and worry of,
Smoke
oh
it.
my gosh, if I smoke this open layup, you know? And of course, I'd smoke it because I was so afraid to miss it. So it's terrible at layups, and I was a smaller kid, so it wasn't just like a little lay. I had to get up there. So, anyways, and that's something I've struggled with since I was in sixth grade,
Okay.
and so definitely something I struggle with. And it gets higher and higher at the college level when it means more, like
Mm-hmm.
when a performance can make a break if you play in the next game or big things. And so first way I would try to go about it was through the world. Like I was gonna try any sort of ways that I could prepare myself. Like I do mental imagery. I would put in extra reps that nobody else was doing. I'd exhaust my body. I would do extra sessions. I would do anything to feel so prepared and trusting in myself that I'd be able to perform. So I kept thinking, man, if I keep working more than everybody else and keep doing all these things, I will find that confidence because I know I can't fail.
Mm-hmm.
But got to the point where I'm doing all that and I'm still not performing and I'm still worried and anxious. Same thing at those practices, same thing.
Yeah.
And so it was until I started taking practical, active steps to get my mind and my spirit to realize that my identity is in Christ and not in soccer. And that's like a very broad thing. But even today, I have this box in my room that I've just started to do, and it's labeled like through God, like all things are possible. And when I am in intense work, I'm a big long term worrier. So I'm not worried about tomorrow. I'm not worried about tonight. But 6 months from now, I'm worried. Even now, I'm worried about where I'm going to be. I graduate in December, and I have professional aspirations. Like, where am I going to be? Will those opportunities be there? Will I be good enough when the opportunities are there? And I have all these worries and ambitions. And so then I begin to start idolizing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so my active way I've been doing recently is I have a box and I write on a little bit of a index card, and I write what I'm worried about, and I write about it and I fold it and I pray on it and I actively drop it in the box.
Well, that's cool. Okay.
And it's an active, like, I'm letting go,
Yeah.
and it's a shoebox and an index card. But for me, and it's people might think it's corny, but for me, it's actively changing my mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an everyday thing. If I don't stay active with it and intentionally give it to God, I'm just gonna be a mess. I'm gonna be a mess. And so that's like the inherent human nature of me wanting to control everything. And that's where I start to lose confidence in myself when I'm not absolutely in control. So giving it to someone who is in absolute control is really what changed it for me. And so, like you experience as well, especially with high level athletics, it comes in waves.
Mm-hmm.
There's times when I feel like I can go on the field and I'm not worried at all. I'm
Yeah.
confident. We could lose by 100 and I still feel joyful. And there's times where I'm subbing into a game or the game's about to start and I'm like, I don't know if I'm good enough for this. I don't know if I'm prepared enough. I don't know if I'm really being supported by God. Like, those are thoughts that you still have at times, but the way to track the journey I found is like, how few and far between do they come?
Mm-hmm.
And I'd say I'm found myself now in trainings and games where more times than not, 8, 9 times out of 10, my confidence comes from God. And that in turn brings me confidence for myself.
Yeah.
In the sense that with God on my side, I can do anything, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But I want to seek after his will first. So,
That's so cool.
yeah.
Yeah, dude. Like, learning to have confidence, like not in yourself, and like get the confidence from like how much you work out. I think that's something I struggled for so long. Like, I would be like,
Mm.
why am I not confident? Like I put so much time in. Like I have no confidence to play. But it's like realizing that like for me always it was like the sport, dude. Like stop worrying about the sport so much, dude. Like it's literally called a sport for a reason. It's not called your
Yeah.
life, you know.
Yeah.
And so realizing that like that, I need to just focus on God more. Stop worshiping the sport. You know, I think that honestly helped me play better.
Yeah. Oh, and I felt the same way. And first of all, I felt the same way. And second of all, one of my favorite Bible stories is David in the Bible. He commits adultery with Bathsheba and then sends her husband to the front lines to be killed. And God forgives him, but there's consequences to sin. And so his son is about to die, and David pleads and he fasts and he lays on the floor and he doesn't allow himself to eat and he just prays and asks God, and the answer ended up being no, and his son ends up dying. And it says that David picked himself up, cleaned himself off, put lotion on, he worshipped.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, like you touched on, worship is the greatest way, I think, to slowly bring your identity out of a sport or a passion in your life and bring it back to Christ. And I think a lot of times and the biggest answers of my life have been no, I've been very few to just turn to worship like David was.
Yeah.
And I think when I find that, and regardless when where I want to be and where I'm going is regardless of a win, a loss, a good performance, a bad performance, my response is to worship. And I think that brings a lot of pride and identity out of the game and brings more humility and trust in God.
So cool, bro.
Yeah.
So this is actually our second time recording this video
Mm.
because
Mm.
like first time we recorded it, my phone basically died and it stopped recording. And while we're recording this, something crazy is going on over here.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
I don't know if anyone can hear it to the mic, but there's like someone banging on the wall the whole time we've been in here.
It's intense.
It's almost like crazy. It's almost like the devil's like working against,
Yeah.
trying to defeat our spirits. It's crazy, you know.
Yeah.
But another thing I wanted to share is I want you to share how we met. Such a cool
cool
crazy.
story.
It's a crazy story. So you can just go ahead and share.
Yeah, so I'm old. I'm a senior here, and there is a comedian that came to campus his first few weeks of school. And when you get to my age, when I was a freshman or sophomore, I'd be like, man, like I have so much better things to do. But once you get old, you're like, I'll go see a comedian. I'll go do anything. You know, like I don't want to graduate. And so I go there, and there's times in my life where I feel extremely encouraged and confident to speak the name of Christ. This is one of those days. And so I sat down, and above me was, yeah, it was you and your friends. And I just felt an urge to just like say what's up, first of all, but also I learned a new trick on how to get people to speak about Jesus. And I've realized that majority of the time, if you're wearing a chain, I'd say 80% of the time there's a cross on it.
Yeah.
Right? Regardless if you're Christian or not, the cross chain is very popular. And so that's always my go-to to just like see what's going on. I was talking to Zoe and some of the other guys who were starting a Bible study. They were starting a Bible study, and I was like, man, I want to try and get people to go. So I tapped on your shoulder, and you looked up, and I was like, what's up, bro? Like, is this your first week here, and you're a freshman? And I was like, and I pretty much said, yeah, bro, like, let me see your chain. Like, that's super sick. What was in your shirt? What do you remember?
First it was like he's like, yo, I like your shirt. He's like, oh, like also your chain's pretty cool. And I was like, oh yeah, thanks. Like usually I got a cross on it, but it just broke off recently.
Yeah. And I was like, there it is. I was like, oh, so you're Christian? Are you Christian? Yeah, I'm Christian. I'm like, yeah, we got to get to like go to the Bible study on Wednesday nights. And you shared a little bit of your story.
Yeah, like he literally asked me out of the blue, like, hey, like, what's your story? And I was like, whoa, what?
Yeah.
I was like, that's a good. I was like, I've never been asked that. Like, I always just like would watch videos, people evangelizing, talking to random people about Jesus, and I was like, that is so sick. Like, it literally like, because like in the time, in the moment coming in, I was like, oh man, like I'm not gonna stop doing what I do, but I'm kind of scared to talk to you about Jesus here, like, cause like I'm new and I actually live here now, so there's kind of more like vulnerability because they know where I live, they know my room, you know. So I was like, I'm kind of scared to talk to people. I don't know, I don't know like the atmosphere is about Jesus here. I don't know what if anyone's Christian at all here, and so him saying that it was like so encouraging. And I was like, wow, like this is great. You know?
And it was so encouraging from you. It was like a bunch of braveries that you did share your story, you know. And I think that's one way to be like, it's a great way to back out of a conversation like that, and just testament to your character that you were all in for the conversation. And it's just it's another instance of like God's hand over everything. Like
100%.
I wasn't really. That's not something I do all the time. It's not something that it was more of an out of the blue thing. It's just a feeling that I had, and I think that just God's hand moves in a lot of ways. And I think this friendship and also just like the way that we get together has just been
so cool.
Game change. It's been so cool. So
okay, so there's a little thing I want to share. So I was talking about how I'd go in the chapel and I'd pray and I'd fall asleep. Okay, one time I was in there reading the word. I think I was reading like Matthew, and I got so tired, and so I fall asleep like my head down like this. I fall asleep like that, and I don't know how long I was sleeping. It could have been 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And because usually there was in my school there was this loud bell that would go like when the class ends. I knew I had to wake up from it. Yeah. It was like a mental trigger. And I'm sleeping. I wake up and I'm in our school's like board meeting. They had like a meeting in there with all the staff, the president of the school, the principal speaking. I wake up and I'm sitting in the front seat. And like, okay, at the school, it was a Catholic school, so there was like Christian brothers. And I'm pretty sure he thought I was praying. Like I think he thought I was in deep prayer. I mean, I'm assuming he probably asked me, like tapped my shoulder, probably said my name. I just didn't answer. So either he thought I was in deep prayer or something, because I was sitting in the front row on the far left side in like the meeting with the whole staff. Like every single who worked there was in there, and I was like, I woke up, I looked up, and I was just like, I grabbed my stuff and I just walked out. I was like, what just happened? I was like, bro,
That is nuts.
I was like, why did he get me out of there? Like they had a full meeting for the
Yeah.
staff, and I'm just sitting there with my head down, like, and I am in the chapel though, so I mean, was it my right to be praying? You know,
Yeah.
I don't know, but that was such a funny story that happened during that season when I was just trying to learn more about Jesus.
You sound like you're the deepest sleeper ever. Because there's a whole boardroom meeting that went on.
I couldn't believe it, bro. And when I woke up, it was dead silent too.
Yeah, that's
Like it was weird waking up in dead silence, and there's like 50 people around you, and there's
Oh
a guy
my
standing in front of you,
gosh.
like just like looking at the room. I was just like,
In a
this is
Catholic school as well,
yeah.
too.
I was
It's
like,
just
what's going on? So I popped right up and I got out of there. But
that's so
it
sick.
was crazy.
That is hilarious.
Yeah. But yeah, dude. So glad we could talk, share our
Yeah.
stories, and
Bro, I appreciate you having me on. That's something
Mhm.
we talked about for a minute. We came to fruition, bro. And I'm glad that we finally got to get it done.
I
We got to
know.
check the camera. I'm pretty sure it's
Yeah.
recording.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. But I mean, first of all, you're just an incredible dude. And I think I'm extremely blessed to have met you. And like, I think there's a lot more to come. So I'm super excited, bro.
Sure, bro.
Appreciate
So
you,
glad we
man.
can have it.
Yes, sir.
I hope you guys did enjoy the video. Definitely check out Sam.
Yes,
He
sir.
has a YouTube. What is your YouTube?
Yeah, I have a YouTube and Instagram. It's called Whole Athlete Mastery. And I do kind of similar stuff, but more soccer based. So I know it might be a lot of hoopers who watch, but you can check out my side of things.
Yeah, check him out for sure. So hope you guys enjoyed the episode, and I guess I'll see you guys.